I'd like to call to order the special meeting of Mayor and City Council for Saturday, February the 9th, and ask, I guess, Councilman Vigliotti to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. I know this is one of the favorite things to do on Saturday, but certainly it's something that requires our attention, and we're glad to be here. I'd like to call for a motion and vote to meet in closed session pursuant to Section 3-305B7 to obtain legal advice, and Section 3-305B1 to discuss personnel matters of the Maryland Open Meetings Act on the following matters. To receive legal advice on the FBI investigation related to the police department and to discuss legal implications thereof, including but not limited to responses and plans of action. Discuss the resignation of the police chief and the status of police personnel and vacancies related thereto, including personnel decisions regarding employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, removal, resignation, and performance of employees. To discuss the current vacancy in the city manager position, including the employment, assignments, promotion, discipline, demotion, removal, resignation, and performance of employees. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, before we go forward, I'm concerned about some of these issues you just read, that they should really be occurring in open session. For example, policy regarding...
I'll entertain comments when I get a second. Is there a motion?
I have a point of inquiry. I came a long ways to hear this meeting, and I would like to have it on record that I have...
I'll entertain questions from the audience in a minute.
Well,
I need a motion before I can move forward.
Before you close the meeting,
Mr. Mayor, I
Sir,
move
there's
that
not even a motion on the floor yet. You're out of order.
I have a point of order question.
You're not a member of the body. You're out of order. Once he opens up for public comment, you can say whatever you'd like.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we go into closed session.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, okay, then I'll share my comments now. The idea that we discuss, for example, the employees in the police department and who should have one position and what another, or even what they would be paid, or the idea that we would discuss the city manager and whether we go outside of the government for city manager, or whether we pick somebody from inside a city manager. Those are the type of things that should occur in an open session, not in a closed session. And so I encourage you not to vote for this, because this is the same problem we had before, where things were discussed in a secret meeting that should not be in a secret meeting.
Well, this is the definition of a personnel
We don't
decision.
hold secret meetings.
Well, you could discuss, like, for example, whether or not Mr. Etzler could continue as the acting police chief, because
Anyone
it's
else
talking
have
about
any
Mr.
comments?
Etzler. But you can't talk about how we're going to get a new police chief, because that's a policy decision, and policy decisions have to be in public. We can't
there
have an
any
executive
discussion
session.
further?
Probably 70% of this agenda here, I think, should be done in open session. 70%, depending, unless it's all just legal advice, it will be done
Councilman,
in
you're
45
repeating
minutes.
yourself. Do you have any other comments that are repeating?
Well, is it all legal
You
advice?
keep saying the same thing over and over
No,
again.
no. Is it all legal advice?
No,
Or are we
two-
going to discuss these people's positions?
Two
I'll
of
be
them are
happy
on
to
personnel.
entertain other comments that
Can you
don't
answer
relate
my
to the
question?
previous comment you
Is
just
it just
did make.
all
You
legal
just made.
advice? Is that what we're going to get in closed session?
I just read what we're going to get in closed session. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, like sign.
Opposed to that, I don't think this is appropriate.
Okay.
Now, public comment.
All
Mr.
right, is
Mayor.
there any public comment that would like to be made before we close the meeting? This fellow in the back. Please, come up to the podium, identify yourself and your address, please. And you'll have 3 minutes to make your comments.
So, good morning. My name is Louis Porter. I'm representing Maryland 2020 Watts. It's an organization that is statewide.
Could you state your address, please?
It's 1203 Spotswood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20905. Now, I've been in Taneytown before. I've been thrown out of places before, noted by the ombudsman, incorrect, that this happened to me. I shouldn't have been. The counselor of Taneytown apologized that he threw me out inappropriately. So it was the police chief that was standing right there that said, if I say one more word, he's going to place me under arrest. So I'm here because this, I believe, deals with the police chief. I would like to know what this proceeding is looking at, what you're thinking about, what you plan on doing, all of you, and I will report it to the state, as I have done for over 6 years now. So that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to make a comment?
Robin Fraser, 142 Bentley Street, and I want to object to you going into a closed meeting for several reasons. The purpose of listing the topics is so that it can be specific enough that the public can understand what it is you're going to discuss. And the council members should also understand that, so they know when they vote to close what they're supposed to be discussing, because the Open Meetings Act limits you to discuss only the things that are listed in your topics. Even in your wording of number 1, it says, but not limited to. The whole purpose of this section is to limit it to certain topics so that you don't go off topic when you're in your closed session. So that gives me a little bit of concern. You know, there's already a lot in the public about the chief, and so some of that is probably open discussion. So if you're going to discuss any kind of policy, even sometimes the legal implications of, if it's to you personally, that might be legal advice, but if it's to the council, that's probably something that you could tell the public, and the public would like to know. Number 2, you discuss the resignation of the police chief, status of the police personnel, and vacancies related thereto. That sentence right there should be an open meeting discussion. A status of the police personnel and vacancies thereto is not specific to a person. It's general, and the public would like to hear that conversation. All of this other stuff comes right out of the law, but what you're supposed to do is, these are all different reasons why you might go into a closed session. So it's not specific enough, again, for us to understand what it is you're going to talk about. And even as council members, you might have trouble not going off topic if you don't know what the specific topic is. And that is your duty once you get in closed session. To discuss the current vacancy of the city manager. Everyone knows what that situation is already. You've already talked about it. Even if you're talking about salaries, that shouldn't be in closed session, because this is already a very public topic. So again, it's a little bit general for us to understand exactly what it is you're going to be limited to when you get into discussion. And that's the purpose of listing these things. So that's why I'm going to object. And could I have a copy of the closing statement, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Provide it to you.
Make sure we keep time on these.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Can I ask a
get
question
you
of the
one.
person who just spoke?
Morning, Rhonda Bean, 168 Grand Drive, Taneytown. I object to going into close as well, because this is all public knowledge. Discussing anything that was already published in the newspaper, and before and after January 30th, especially January 30th, it was stated that Chief Police Tyler was given a resignation by the council and another officer. It was published in the paper. It was published in the paper that you all met multiple times and went into closed other sessions, and that wasn't given as explanations, and these explanations aren't clear enough. If it was pertaining to a specific person, that would be personal, but this isn't personal. This is all general information that the public should have knowledge of. It's been in the paper. People in and out of the state know about all this stuff. It needs to be public. Thank you.
Anyone else care to make a comment?
Dottie Siders, 14601 Red Lion Drive, Woodbine, Maryland. I just object to this because it is public knowledge. The topic's been covered for a while now, and I think it'll be a black spot, a smudge on the county council to take part of the situation and discuss it behind closed doors, away from the public.
Anyone else care to make a comment? Any comment from council?
I just would like to warn the council not to go forward with
Okay,
closed
then we
session
will,
on issues that have been
Adjourn
raised by
to
the
public
public.
session and reconvene in 4 minutes. At 8:15, we will convene. We'll wait for the room to be cleared.
I didn't have a chance
Thank
to
you all
vote on
for
them.
coming
Did I
this
have a-
morning.
Mr. Mayor? Well, I didn't get a chance to vote on it yet.
There was a vote.
There was a vote, yes, you voted
You
against.
voted against it.